We are back with another episode with the beautiful, the lovely, the amazing Val. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here again for me. You know how you always come through for your girl. Always. I appreciate you. I so do. I so do. How have you been, girl?
Woo! 2024 is wrapping up, and we got 39 days left in this year, and it has been a transformative year. A lot of catalysts for a lot of things for a lot of people. Yes. So it's been a busy year for me, but I'm grateful for all of the lessons and everything that's come out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I am so, I of course, I personally know things, that you've been going through and stuff. And girl, you don't look anything like what you've been through. So I am so glad that you're here with me and that, prayers work, because, I've been fervently praying for you guys. So I love you. Just to let you know, I love you.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you. And I thank you. And yes, prayers absolutely do work. But yes, it is work at times.
Yes.
Being here and being in this experience, but it is still fruitful and enjoyable. And we find ways to find joy throughout every part of the ebb and flow. That's what it's all about.
Right. Speaking of the ebbs and flows, we're going to get right into it. This is, of course, my shadow work series, and it has been, when I say an ebb and flow of emotions and just healing and going through so much and feeling like, because this is wrapping up the season, it just feels I feel so liberated. I just feel like my inner child is just overjoyed. Like, she is just like, I mean, when I tell you to the moon, like rocket power couldn't even get you there. Like, it's just like, she feels so heard, and she feels like so safe, and so I am just really thankful that I was obedient and that I allowed myself to step out of my comfort zone, way out of my comfort zone, and tough it out, because there were times where I was just like, I ain't doing this. Like, I'm not gonna finish this. And then I was like, no, I have to, because there's actually an audience there, and people are actually like tuned in, and they're like, yo, like, you're a real inspiration, and I needed this, and I didn't know how much I needed this, and it's causing me to look at myself. And so that helped me, because this has been a lot.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we are going to continue to basically speak and validate different things. I know when we left off last time, we said that this time we were going to speak on, my adulthood and my marriage, my relationship, get all of that out the way, and just where I am now. So I want everyone to know that Val is my counselor, has been my counselor for a good 12 years now, and she has seen me, when we talk about ebbs and flows of life, she's seen me through many life cycles. She knows me in and out, and she has seen such a whirlwind of me. Okay, such a whirlwind of me. And so I each episode give Val permission to speak on the things that we have talked about during our sessions and things. So, and validate things if I'm wrong, or if you don't remember me saying this, that, and the third, just, she know what it is, because she knows, and I know she gon' honey,
She knows.
So that's, I guess, my disclaimer or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, but I also want you to, because we've, spoken, throughout the last few weeks or whatever, to, kind of confirm my current mental state, like, where I am. I'm not crashing out. I'm not in this the Lulu state. I'm totally sane. I'm totally coherent, and I'm totally focused on working through my traumas and my healing and things like that. Because speaking on certain subjects, it may seem, and because I speak so passionately and aggressively sometimes, it can seem kind of like crashy outy in a sense. But honestly, it's the shadow self getting things out. And I think I reiterated that on one of my mini-sodes. Like when I'm in the dark, that's me allowing my shadow self full reign and to release. And so it doesn't always look pretty and it's not always cutesy. But I just want everyone to know, like, I'm not crashing out. I'm not, I'm very sane. I'm very here. I'm very present. Yeah. I'm very grounded.
Yeah, this is natural. This is authentic. This is raw. This is what it's supposed to look like. We have got to come out of this space of feeling like because we have passionate and intense emotions that somehow marks us as insane. I could go on a tangent about it, but I'll save it for you here. But that is, it is something that has been washed into us to believe that just isn't so.
Right.
So
and
I appreciate those who are bold enough to be authentic and raw in their emotions.
Yeah. And like we've stated in the last episode, there's a shift in the atmosphere. There's a shift in energy, and there's a movement in energy that allows the feminine to be her softer self and to get it out and to really release that hard stuff, that masculine stuff, to allow her to ease into her feminine role and into the role in which is healed, and her making sure that she is not her perfect self, but her most authentic self. So I feel like that was the case that my ancestors was really trying to get me to not necessarily put across to other people, but so that I could digest it and understand.
Right.
So I'm very appreciative. This whole process has taught me so much. And even watching back and looking back and being like, oh my gosh, like I've learned so much about me within watching my shadow self have full reign and be able to release. So it's been a journey. But let's go ahead and get into my adulthood. You came in, and we discussed how you came in while I was just bulldozing everything. And we've established that, I have been doing the work for years. I've been putting in the work. I have been trying to be a better me in everything. And so, again, I think I want to pick up so that we can kind of get it out of the way, but pick up on, I think, my marriage. So we can get it out of the way. And then I can really more so, because this is the end of the series, more so focus on me and where I am now, because I think those two are the last two pieces that need to come together to really wrap the whole series up. So, in speaking about my marriage, so as Val knows, and I'm sure if you've gotten to this point of the series, you all know by now that before I had gotten married, things were going on that should have been addressed prior to the marriage. And I remember Val telling us that you need to get these things straight before you guys get married, because marriage is a mirror, and it's only going to reflect what you don't want to see because you haven't faced what you needed to face. It's only going to magnify what's really going on if there's issues. And boy, were you right. Boy, were you right. And I think we did try to address certain issues, but there were still guards up because there was still fear. And I'm kind of surfacing that around one specific incident that we'll get into. But before the marriage, I was already getting breadcrumb. I was supporting our family and our household by myself. 85% of it was me. I was doing everything by myself. The child, rearing. He was present in the home, but wasn't really present as a parent. And I was just being everything to everybody. And I really did like being a wife, like I guess at that point, pre-wife, right? I enjoyed building that household. I enjoyed being domesticated, really, as one would really call it. And so that part is what I wanted more of, but I wanted more reciprocity at the same time. And I wasn't getting the reciprocity that I wanted. No, I take that back. I did not want more of me just doing everything by myself. I wanted more reciprocity. So I can't say I wanted more of that. I wanted more of me being able to be domesticated, yes, but I did not want more of me resting uncomfortably in masculine energy. That's not something that I wanted. And it was something that I told Val over and over and over again before we had gotten married. And Val was just like, all you can do is really control what you can control, which is yourself. Work on yourself, control your own factors. And that's what I did. I truly worked on myself, and I felt like I was making the changes that were necessary. And it wasn't necessarily, it was more of a push and a tug type of thing, more than okay, we're going to pull together. And so you can't enter a marriage like that. And I learned after the fact, of course, everything is, retrospect, but I learned that, you cannot enter a marriage that way. The marriage is not going to be your Band-Aid. The marriage is not going to be the thing that just clicks and everything is okay and everybody falls into the roles that they said that they were going to play. It just doesn't happen. So,
there's one important piece of this that I want to bring up that I think is really important, just for you to sit with, and for anybody else that's listening to this. Because one thing that I would say, all of what you say, I recall completely, but there's another piece of it that I recall, which is something that I see in a lot of these kind of scenarios where, we call them the married single mothers, right?
Yeah.
Is where most of the time when you come to me for counseling, you're coming to me about the things that are not, the places where you're not receiving help, right? So there were a lot of conversations about, how can we organize, and we talked about the use of different types of calendars and how we could try to, make this family dashboard and come together. What could we do to alleviate so many of the things that are on your plate that feels out of balance, where you're the only one responsible for all of these things, right?
Right.
And a lot of the times, that's where we come and sit down and have the group therapy, the counseling, and all of those things to address that. But what I found over time is that is just a mask for way more, right?
Yeah.
If you have an issue with not being seen in the household itself not being seen, to the point where there's no lens of perspective around, things that need to be done that are just basic parts of human existence and cohabitating in the same space.
Right.
When those things are being seen under a blind eye, what else are we missing? Right? Because then there's the feelings under that. And then I think a lot of times for us, as women, we're so kind of drilled into us, no matter how much we say we know, that we're not here to just cook and clean and do the things. No matter how much we say it, it's still, pieces of that in our DNA, pieces of that in our Akashic that are left over from mom and mom's mom and mom's mom's mom, right? So we'll put all the focus and attention on what's not being done in the household, when really what we're saying is, you're not seeing me, you don't feel me here.
Yeah.
You're not tapped in. You know, I'm so tired today. You don't even notice how tired I am.
Yeah.
This is too much for me. We
Yeah.
have a very interesting space we're in our relationship dynamics right now, because there has been such a drastic change in what's perceived as a role in a very short period of time.
Right.
So all of these assumptions of what the woman does in the household are connected to this concept that the man is making enough to support the household and that she doesn't do any other things. That's not the world we live in anymore.
No.
So now we have the women who are also working, also carrying the load of everything else. Like it's just doubled up
Right.
on the positions. But on the other side, the men also have very little, if any, resources around what their role is now. What their role is now. Because their father's DNA is dripping within them from their dad and their dad and their dad.
Right.
Who taught that all they had to do was put a check down, put some money on the table, and that would be more than enough.
Right.
So it's a challenging space, but I just wanted to point that piece of it out because I saw that shift happen in you, where it started to go like, okay, wait a minute, this is not just the household needs to come together. We're not talking about chores and tasks anymore. We're talking about how my actual feelings are being neglected or not spoken to or not being heard.
Right. Yeah, and that was another one of the biggest things that I have been speaking to throughout this whole series is I've always felt unseen and unheard. Like nobody hears me. And that's another reason why I feel like when I speak, it comes across so passionately and aggressively, because it comes from not being heard and not being seen.
Yeah, that's where it comes from, and I think the intersection of being a woman and being Black, it's a lot of intersections of invisibility.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oftentimes we're not seen or heard unless we throw a tantrum.
That part. Or we're loud.
Now we're flipping over the table and it's like, oh my gosh, you flipped over the table. I've been saying this over and over and over and over, but it took me flipping the table for you to recognize that I'm like, hey, I'm drowning here.
Exactly. And then what hurt so bad was when I finally did get to the flip the table moment, it was then she's crazy. She's acting out. She's doing the most, and it's like, everybody sees the reaction, but nobody sees the buildup and nobody sees the stuff that happened before. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things where it was manipulated, and then I felt even smaller.
Yeah.
So it was just like, where do you go? Where do you go? And touching on what you said regarding, men's role being, put the check on the table and do whatever you do, that would have been fine. And Danny had the check been on the table. You know what I mean? That was one of the issues. You know what I mean? It would have been, I think I would have been able to better cope or process with a new transition had the check been put on the table. You know what I mean?
It would have pushed it out further.
Right.
Because I get these same scenarios in front of me where the check is on the table. Sometimes the check is real big fat check that's on the table. And we have these thoughts of like, man, if that was happening, then I know you wouldn't, right? You still would require what you require in your emotional needs for your emotional well-being. Now, what it can do is it can push it back, or it can repress it deeper and further.
Which it did for a moment, because during our counseling session, you had asked me, you said, okay, what is it that you require? What is it that you need from him? And I said, I don't want to have to pay a goddamn thing anymore. I don't want to have to put out a dime. I am so tired. I have carried this family for over 13 years now. We had been together for 13. Actually, at that point, it was about 14, 15 years that we had been together. I said, I've carried us for 15 whole years now. I can't do it anymore. I'm exhausted. I am looking for him to pick it up, because that's one way I need him to show me that he is in this thing, that this thing could work. And you said, can you do that for her? And he looked at you and he said, yes. And you said, okay, well, we're going to start. And by this time, this was February. And you said, how much time do you need to get yourself together? And he said, well, I don't need too long. I don't need too long. And you said, okay, well, I'm going to give you 30. I'm going to give you 30 days. Actually, you know what? You start in May. May 1st, you start. And we tried. And we tried for a few months. And like you said, it just repressed things. And then it got to the point where it was just like, okay, yeah, he's paying bills now, but I'm still not fulfilled. I'm still not heard. I'm still not seen. I still don't have the energetic help that I need. I still don't feel loved. I don't feel that reciprocity. And so, I mean, when you said that, it was just like, it hit the nail on the head that, that's what we did. And we didn't realize that was what was happening, but that's exactly what we did.
Yeah. But that even further drives home, kind of the core of this, because, I'm always going to stand in the middle, because I deeply care for the well-being also of your ex-husband.
Yes, right? You did.
And still do, always. And I'm just from a more expanded perspective, I'm just seeing how deeply we are impacted by these teachings and these really what have become brainwashings of how we think things are supposed to go. Because even in that instance, it's like, okay, what is the thing that you need? You were able to muster up and say that. And I was so proud of you when you said that, because I think there's so many women who want to say just that. Mm-hmm. You do this shit. You take it, right? You handle the bills.
Yeah.
And you said it. And he was like, cool, bet, got it. I can do that, right? He took it over, and that wasn't it. Still wasn't. Right? And I could see how that impacts the both of you, because you really, really thought that would be it. You thought that would be enough. And he is trying, right? He gave you what you asked for, right? Mm-hmm. But he also doesn't have the tools or the resources to be able to understand, okay, if this isn't it, now what?
Right.
Right? There's a void of that answer being, having a solution to that yet, that most people have not gotten there to that place for you to be able to answer those questions.
Right. And then it led me to, with us doing that, it then led me to, well, dang, you started May of, at this point it was 2020, I think. You started then. Why the hell couldn't you have been doing that this whole time? Then that's when, and then it was like, okay, some other shit is resurfacing now. So
because then it's like, so you can do this, you could have been done this, right?
Exactly.
So it just it goes further to exasperate whatever that was under the surface, which is, you don't see me.
Yeah.
I'm realizing now this is becoming evidence of just how much you have never seen me, because you had the ability the whole time to do this, and it never dawned on you to volunteer it.
Yes.
I had to scream and shout.
Yeah. I had to tell you I'm leaving.
Yeah. It's like if you just drove, you just walked all the way to the grocery store, miles and miles and miles, because you didn't have a car. And then you get to the grocery store and find out that there was a free taxi you could have taken, or a free, like you made me walk all this by
right.
When you had the ability to take all of this off of It's just I don't see any blame in it when I look at you.
No.
I see more so I see two people who came together young.
Oh, yes. And didn't know what the hell we were doing. We had good examples, but we had examples that, for me, I had examples that tried to hide things from me, the bad things, and display only the good. And for him, he had turmoil every step of the way. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have the complicated view, other than tumultuous, or I'm showing you all the good shit. There was nothing, there was no gray area, nothing in between.
Yeah. Y'all were left to figure out what the balance of those things were, you
right.
know. And the reality is too, from the perspective we have now, or just understanding human psychology and just how things work, you know, even our quote unquote healthy marriages in our parents, you know, I talk about my parents being married forever and having such a loving relationship, we still have a 2.0 understanding of what healthy relationships look like, because a lot of what they have still, even though they were able to keep it together, even though the good outweighed the bad, there's still a lot of pieces in it that just would not make sense in our world to be healthy for this generation.
Right, exactly. I agree. I totally agree.
So yeah, even when we have the examples, it's a challenge.
Speaking, and now I'm going to get into the incident.
Okay.
So that was a great segue of, you saw I was walking and you knew that there was a free taxi. And I even asked you before I left for a resource. You didn't give it to me. That reminded me of the incident, and I need you to validate here. During our marriage counseling, you told me, you said, lay it all out. So one of the things was that, you know, we went through the finances. And the other thing was, I said, okay, I want to lay it all out. I want it all to come out. And I said, I need you to tell me the truth. It's been 11 years since this incident happened, and you have gaslit me and you have lied to me. I need to know, for the girl that I got arrested behind, did you sleep with her? And did you have the relationship with her that she claimed that you all had, that you vehemently denied? And it was only then, 11 years later, that he told the truth. That hurt so bad. It was like, you saw the taxi was there, and I asked you, and I gave you outs over the years, and I told you, I was like, Val, I even begged him. I was like, yo, like, I'm not leaving, you know, please just tell me the truth. And he still would not tell me the truth. And it wasn't until he felt like, okay, back's against the wall, balls to the wall, I have nothing else left, she's gone, I gotta tell her the truth. It wasn't until then that he actually told me the truth about the infidelity there.
Yeah. It's rough. That's rough. You know, this is why we keep going back to these conversations of authenticity and transparency, because people are afraid to be truthful. They're afraid to be, you know, and it's such a temporary band-aid to just pretend that it didn't happen, or to just not have the conversation to avoid it. But the pain never goes away, never goes on either side, because, you know, and then to take it to another level, when you're talking about spiritually connected women who are in tune,
especially with their bodies and their sacral chakra. You know, like, we know when something's being tampered with down there.
It goes both ways. I've seen it happen on both sides, men as well, men who are at the end, and you know, then you have this disrespect to your own intuition thing that's happening, where you could feel in your gut and in your sacred knowings everywhere what's happening, and can't get any evidence of it. You know, it goes from she's crazy to am I crazy? 'Cause everything in me says this, but you know,
Yeah.
you're the complete opposite. It's it's a level of passive abuse in a way
Hmm.
that is it stems from some kind of trauma on their end to feel like they need to disguise uh, the things they've experienced in this life to that degree.
Yeah.
It would be much easier just to say, "Hey, I fucked up." But
Yeah. And I think if that had happened quite earlier, because that was one of the things that needed to be uprooted, of course. I think had that happened earlier and we were actually able to deal with it and deal to the core with it and really get the whole root of it out, I think that that would not have been such an underlying issue. And then we had our families, which was a huge problem in our marriage because after we got married, it was so much drama that happened, especially at the wedding. It was just like so much unnecessary drama. And I still didn't feel protected by him. And I didn't feel seen and heard. I felt heard. I know he heard me, but it was just like, I have to protect myself. So I'm going to stand over here and I'm going to continue to let you get those rapid fire shots. And I'm not going to pick up my Captain America. Is that who got the shield? And I pick up my Captain America shield and shield us both. You know what I mean? I'm going to let you drown. And that also hurt because that was what had been happening over a span of years as well. And I had stated that in our counseling where I didn't feel protected. I didn't feel like he stood up for me or he protected me or he addressed anything. And he would tell me during our sessions, oh, I did it in private, or I did it in private, but the disrespect was so public, you know what I mean? And even still with the disrespect being so public, there was still no acknowledgement or apology or accountability on their end towards me to be getting all of this stuff that it was honestly undeserving. And it was so weird how even throughout our childhood into our adulthood, I'm screaming, see me, see me, see me. I need you to protect me. And he's just like, but I would always go to bat for him. And that was part of the issue too, because I'm defending him and he's not speaking up. And these were his feelings that he stated to me. And I'm just reiterating his feelings. And he's not saying, yeah, she's right. That was what I said. Those were my feelings. It was just like, nah, I'm gonna let you see, because I mean, I know I told you that, but still. Yeah. It was so, I don't know. It was just like, it was so many things that were all, it just felt like we needed, I don't even know if we had more time before we got, I just don't think that it just would have worked. Just period.
Yeah. Just, because it's rooted so deeply, just what happens to put you in a place where you're not able to have those deeper kind of conversations, not be able to be to show up for people in that kind of way.
Yeah.
It all boils down to, you're not able to give to someone else what you can't give to you. And that's the issue that we come into when it comes to lies and just deceitfulness in general.
Yeah.
They're not able to look themselves in the mirror and be honest about something with themselves.
Yeah.
And it seeps out through their pores, and that becomes a way of existing in general.
Mm-hmm.
To hide things. So we're screaming and wanting them to see something when they can't even see it in them.
Yeah. And then there were things that were uncovered later that speaks to what you just said. And I'm not going to bring it up on here because I don't recall us speaking about it in our counseling sessions. And it is something that he may have spoken to you about, and I don't know. And so because we hadn't had that conversation where there was all three of us present, I'm not gonna bring it up here. Because I don't want you to have to, or not have to, but I don't want to put you in a position where you feel like something could confirm or deny, you know what I mean? Or anything like that. So, but there was a situation that happened that ended up being, I think, the icing on the cake for me, because it happened later on down the line, that it ended up being the icing on the cake for me, that it's just, I gotta go. And it speaks to what she was saying, as it's a hard thing to see yourself and to come to certain realizations about yourself and certain truths or certain facts about yourself, and not being able to take a mask off that you've had on for so long to really live in that authentic truth. Yeah. So I do give grace there for him, because me taking this mask off during this whole process allowed me to not only sympathize but empathize and have better clarity to what he may have been going through in wearing such a mask for so long, because I wore such a fairy tale-ish mask for so long, and I had, you know, everyone around me thinking that life was good, life was great, life was bliss, you know, and sprinkles and all that good stuff. And so that's where I relate to him, and I have that compassion and I have that understanding for him. And I really feel like I know I needed to get to a place of healing, and I know that it would have been better for us to had split up for a second, for me to process certain things and then maybe come together and have certain conversations. But with us trying to continue to work on things that were only surface and not get to certain roots of certain things, it caused us to continuously push ourselves apart. It was like magnets turning the polar opposites and really like repelling instead of magnetizing towards one another. And I think that's another thing that happened, because I really feel like we could have been friends, at least, you know what I mean, if we had had that specific opportunity.
Yeah.
So
and you know, it might take more time than you realize. I mean, there's a lot of years of time invested in the two of you, you know, the intertwining of your lives, versus, you know, the time that you've been apart.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it takes a lot more time for us than we realize it does, just to kind of get to a space to, you know, we intellectualize our healing before we actualize it on a deeper level.
Fair. And I'm so glad that you said that, because you've even stated, and when we did get to a point, it was after the fire had happened, we had kind of got to this leveled out point that we could see each other, and all the bullshit and the extra noise just didn't matter at that point, because at this point it was a survival mode, you know, for me and our son. And he was just like, okay, I'm going to meet her where she's at. We had a conversation, and he told me, what did that man say? Whew, I can't. Can you state what you said before I started that part? Because
the intellectualizing the healing versus the actualizing the healing.
He told me, he said, you left the marriage mentally and energetically 2.5 years into it. And you told me after, you know, we had separated and had been some time, you said, girl, you started your grieving process before y'all even split up. Like, before y'all even came to me for marriage counseling, you had already started your grieving process. And I was like, yo, both of y'all seen that shit. I didn't see it because I was in the midst of it, and I knew I was detaching, but I couldn't understand it. But you guys were like, no, you're like you're gone.
Yeah.
You're grieving. You're done. You're gone.
Yeah.
And so that when you said what you said, that triggered that thought. What, like, you guys were like, no, she's, and I tried so hard. I fought. I cried. I screamed. And then I even got on my knees and begged. And then after that, I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm starting the grievance process. And so is that for me, is that I don't know. And I guess I'm still trying to figure that out. But is that like a coping type of mechanism, or what caused me to start grieving the relationship before I physically even walked away?
I mean, I think it's there's a space there. There's a window where you start to see that you're going to ultimately have to make a choice between, loving yourself versus loving someone else.
Yeah.
You start to see that coming before you quite get there. We all know the answer, but we hope that we don't have to make the choice.
Right.
That process is really, last ditch effort, to the recognizing that something has to change.
Yeah.
You have to make a change, or I have to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really hoping you could take this. I'm really hoping you could see the value in making some changes here.
Right.
But then the words and the actions, they have to have a pattern of alignment for, a consistent amount of time.
Yes.
And for that kind of change to happen.
Right.
It can happen. I've been adamant all along with you guys. I'm adamant with everyone that I'm always going to root for what's in the best interest of each of you.
Yep.
That doesn't always mean that it's going to be the two of you staying together, but it's the best interest of the well-being that I'm here to help with.
Right.
And I see that happen a lot. I think we see this pattern a lot, especially with women, where they will just try. And I kind of think of it, I always have my visions. I always think about it as being in an escape room. Like, I'm going to get out of here some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to unlock whatever this mess is you got me in, or I'm going to bust one of these windows out. Let me get up out. One or the other.
Exactly.
Either you change or I'm a change. And it was just a ticking clock. And yeah. I think we all know, anytime any couple comes and sits down in front of me, the clock is already started.
Yep.
So now we got to pay money out of our pocket, and we got to take time out of our schedule to sit down and work through something with someone else. The clock is ticking.
and then even it was to a point where we couldn't even sit together. When we had our session, he would be on a link, I would be on a link, and we would be in totally different places with you. And it would be it's like, we can't even be in the same room.
I'll take it even a step further. Do you remember when we used to do them and the two of y'all sit together would mess up the Wi-Fi? We couldn't even, yeah.
Yes.
The intensity of the energy of whatever you guys had going on. It was do it.
Yes. So now, speaking to, it was either basically him or me. Yeah. Of course, the choice was made. Yeah. And so we can transition to speaking on me. Yes. So, the choice was made, and it was one of the scariest choices that I had ever made. Even deciding to be a mom was easier than deciding to, and I was 16 when that happened. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It was easier than deciding to dismantle what we had, especially because I had been in this energy for so long where I was like, I have given this man 15 some odd years of my life. I have not necessarily trained this man, but I have worked. I put in the work, and I'll be goddamn If somebody else is going to come in here and reap the benefits of what I have done, I had gotten to the point where I didn't even give a damn if somebody else came tomorrow and reaped the benefit of whatever I had done. Girl, you ain't even gotta say thanks at this point. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was. And I knew for me that if I was in that place, then I wasn't in the right situation for myself. And so I think also me grieving or starting the grieving process before I physically left the situation helped me better to prepare myself and have a better standing emotionally to better suit and help my son through this process that he had to go through after the fact. So I'm kind of glad, I am glad that I progressed the way I did and I transitioned the way I did out of it. I'm proud of myself because I know that I fought real hard. I fought until I had nothing left in me. I fought until I was literally depleted. I fought long and hard, and I can literally say that I exhausted all options before I walked away. And because I knew that, I was more confident, not comfortable, but confident in my decision to go my separate way and live my life and really start healing and focusing on me and what I wanted to do and come out of that and find me. I was playing hide and seek with myself because I didn't know who I was, because I got lost in a relationship, and I got lost in so much of the convoluted mess and the chaos and the toxicity that I had to pick apart what wasn't toxic and put it on this side. I had to literally pick up blocks, and you know how when kids put out toys and they just pour all the toys on the floor and certain things go certain places. I had to really pick out the separate pieces and put them in the toy bin that I wanted to keep, and whatever I wanted to donate could go, you know? Yeah. And so that's how, because most women don't know where to start. Yeah. That's where I started. Yeah. And that's how I got here to this place where not only am I helping change other people's lives by counseling and, I'm sharper intuitively. My gifts are growing and increasing, and I'm unlocking more gifts. My ascensions are, it seems like after or during almost every damn full moon, my ascension symptoms, and I'm leveling up on frequencies, and I'm just like, yo, what? But it's just like Spirit was like, all right, you stalled, like we stagnated you enough. Now you're on the fast track, so we got to shoot you where you're supposed to have been. So now I'm here, and I'm like, oh, what it is. So I'm happy. I'm in a very, it's almost a nostalgic place because I feel like a kid again.
Okay.
I do. I feel like a kid again because there's so much that's now it's left to explore. There's so much to roam. There's so much to get all of my senses into and dig my feet into. And I'm also, to my credit, I'm supposed to be a wife. I'm supposed to be this feminine, soft energy that is a nurturer and, is there for X, Y, and Z. Now, I'm a boss bitch too. Gotta add that in the mix. But, I'm still this person who at the core is somebody who wants to love and to give love and to just be a beacon of love, whether it's romantic, platonic, whatever. Now I have a sense of, I'm okay to love. I'm okay to give it away. I'm okay to not be so stingy with it and not be so fearful that I'm just, everybody's going to hurt me. And I've broken out of that. And I was in that, and I didn't even realize that I had been in that place of, oh my God, people are going to hurt me. I'm literally scared of people. And now I'm like, okay, Hey girl, you look good, girl. Like, you know, and hey, sir, like I see you, sir. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm in this energy where I'm magnetic to people now. And so I love this space. I love the space. So that's where I am. And I really appreciate you for being so much help to me throughout the whole process. Honestly, 2/3 of my life, for real.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah, for a minute, I saw a old picture come up for when we had stopped in town. I'm looking at my baby and your baby and going, these are
Who are
completely
them
different
kids?
people.
Who are them kids?
Yeah,
Yes.
minute. But
Yeah.
yeah, seeing you come into this space has been beautiful to watch and beautiful to witness.
Thank you.
It's just there's no regrets. There's no
Yeah.
regrets. There's no really no mistakes. There's places where you can see and definitely take learning from moving forward. But everything that you went through and everything you experienced has been just parts of who you've become. You
Yes.
know, and it is sometimes that rubber band kind of pulling back for you to go through multiple years of shrinking yourself and kind of, you know, being in that resistant energy. Now that you've taken off, it's just you have no desire to put any of that energy back on again. You're just raw in who you are and authentic in who you are.
Yeah.
And what you attract from that place is something that matches with who you are, right?
Yep.
I love that you feel like a little girl, and in a lot of ways, that's where we're all trying to get to, that curiosity and that aliveness and joy of a child. But the beauty in it is you are that with all of the maturity of all of the wisdom that you've got through your experiences.
Yes.
Right. So you are tracked from this place, something completely and totally different than what that version of you attracted.
Yeah. Yeah. I really feel like through so much of my healing processes and through my shadow works, I really feel like I can successfully say that I have closed a book and I have opened up a new unwritten, and I'm filling in the gaps. I'm filling in the book. I'm writing my story, and I have more control. I have the pen. I actually have the pen now. Yeah. I have the control over everything. I have better handles over my emotions. I have better handles over my finances. I have better handles over, not, it could be better, you know, but everything is better. I'm better. And that I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying I'm better than who I once shed. I'm better than her. I'm better than what she went through now because of what she went through. I'm better because she allowed that space for me to grow in, and she wrapped that cocoon, and now I'm out of the chrysalis and I have my wings are dry and I can fly. I'm better now, you know? So, and I don't think people realize how caterpillars die to rebirth and live again.
An ugly process.
Yes. And so I like to attribute it, and now I see why so many people love butterflies and what they represent and the spiritual meanings of butterflies, because I went through my own butterfly effect. I had my own butterfly process, and I came out and my wings are beautiful. My wings are just dry.
Keep butterflies on or around, because we do need reminders of our own evolution. We do need it.
Yes, we really do. Thank you, Val. I really appreciate it. I know, you got stuff to do. You are a busy, busy woman. I really appreciate it, especially because you didn't have to take the time, but you always come through for your girl, like I said, and I really, really, I love you. I appreciate you. You already know how I go behind you. So thank you for just the reciprocity, because you were part of the beginning stages of what I knew or what I could see that reciprocity could be. And I really appreciate you for that.
It's been my absolute pleasure. And thank you for continuing being you and showing the world what it looks like to heal, to stay in pursuit of that joy, no matter what, joy by any means necessary, and for choosing yourself over and over and over again.
Thank you.
Dearly. I love you dearly.
Thank you. I love you too. All right, y'all. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode. Thank you again, Val, for all that you do and all that you have done here for me in this series. And y'all, I think this series is about done. So with that being said, bye.